Okay, let's get down to the second session. I had said that our treasurer, James Spencer, will deliver his treasury report to you remotely, but that was actually planned. But we had a problem which avoided him to do that. And then that's actually something we did before. Our fellow EC member, Kenny Huang, will deliver the treasury report for our treasurer to you. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kenny Huang. I'm happy to speak treasury report on behalf of our treasurer. Okay. Basically, the report was split into two parts. The first part is 2015 financial report, and the second part is 2016 this year, budget and activity plans. Okay, 2015 financial report. The operating surplus for 2015 will be, operating surplus after tax will be 1.5 million Australian dollars AUD, and that's pretty much higher than we anticipate. The major reason, I will go to detail later. 2015 revenue, the revenue come from total revenue for 2015, actual 2015 was 18.7 million AUD, and it's much higher than our budget. Our budget was 18.2 million. Oh, sorry, I need to keep distance. Okay, our budget plan was 18.2 million, so budget variance percentage will be 2.8%. For the expense for 2015 is 16.8 million. The actual plan was 16.8 million. The budget plan for 2015 will be 17 million. So we spend much less than we anticipate. We spend less than 1.5% than we budget. That's expense by activity. So our budget expense in 2015 is pretty much to the actual expense in 2015. So you can see the diagram is very much similar. And the majority expense will go to serving the members. So let's break down into different categories. We break down into 4 categories. One is a cooperation and global collaboration and regional development, and also the member by our actual budget plan. The statement of financial position will be 23.3 million AUD, and actually that was increased 9% better than last year. 2014. So that's APNIC reserve. You can see the different color. For example, like orange color, lots of financial asset. So we put our cash in the other financial asset. And blue color stands for cash, and the other one is property. So total reserve is more than 30 million AUD. So back to the financial stability measure. Until end of 2015, the total months of cover by our equity is 16.64 months, which means our target financial stability is 18 months of operating expense. So far we are almost reached to our target. The reason to set at a higher bar because we want to ensure the APNIC long-term sustainable operation, and so we are pretty much close to our target. The audit, we have audit rotation policy. Right now, PwC undertook audit of 2015 account and the second year of their 5-year term as APNIC auditor. And the audit outcome, PwC provide an unqualified auditor opinion. The first one, the account give a true and fair view of APNIC financial position. The second is complying with the relevant accounting standards. Okay, the second part of the present is 2016 this year, budget and activity plan. Our budget process 2016 activity plan and priority list driven by input from, for example, like a 2014 APNIC survey And second is we have conduct EC regular strategic meeting, and also via APNIC EC strategic guidance. And also APNIC existing operation commitment. If you get any input and we wish to commit, and we will list in our priority. That's a bottom-up zero-based expense budgeting. And revenue derived from detailed analysis of membership and income forecast. And we always continue to focus on financial stability as well. The budget consideration for 2016, that will be incorporate 2016 activity plan, view of APNIC expense grouped by activities, allocate for full-time employee, operating and capital expense. All the detail and initiative project for 2016, actually, if you want to see the detail, you can go to APNIC transparency page. You can get a detailed financial report. So let's budget revenue for 2016. Basically, we have 2016 budget revenue about 19.4 million AUD. That will be 3.82% higher. The budget expense in 2016 is 80 million. The total surplus for 2016 will be 1.4 million. That's a little bit lower than last year because we have defined a new membership category, new membership plan, and all the membership fee will be activated last year from January, but because of the real financial allocation starting from end of 2015, so the full impact will come into 2016. The activity plan for 2016 will be including corporation. We have actually almost the cost will allocate to serving members, accounting for 57 of APNIC full-time equivalent employee actually was allocated for serving members. 50% of operating expense and 80% of capital expenditure. 2016 budget expense by activity, you can see the four categories by global corporation and regional development and outreach serving members, and total is 80 million AUD. As I mentioned, the major costs that come from go to the serving members. That's a different diagram to see how the expense was allocated for 2016 activity plan. Most of activity is related to the serving members. Okay, thank you. And if you want to see any detailed information, you can just link to the APNIC transparency page. There will detailed financial report over there. Is any other question I can answer here? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. If you have any question or comments. Okay, let's go on to the EC report for myself. So, APNIC Executive Council report. Again, my name is Akinori Maimura, the chair of the Executive Council of APNIC. And then, all right. Here's the current APNIC EC members, and this is quite a recent year's tradition to have the EC members to introduce themselves, starting with Paul Wilson. Yep.
Thank you. Paul Wilson, as the Director General of APNIC, under the bylaws, I am a ex officio member of the EC and a voting member.
Yep.
That's all. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Jessica Shen from China. Hello, I'm Chiu Cheng from Hong Kong. I've been with APNIC EC for 18 years. After today, I will step down, and thank you all for your support.
Hello, Kenny Huang from Taiwan.
I'm looking for Gaurav coming here. Come up. Introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Gaurav Upadhyay from Limelight Networks. I'm originally from Nepal, but float around quite a bit. Thanks.
Okay. And my name is already said, but I'm working for Japan Network Information Center, JPNIC, one of the National Internet Registry and Internet Promotion Body for a lot of activities throughout the Internet coordination. And then, okay, let's with the member list on the slide. Okay. By the way, these are all present from the EC Executive Council, but we have two members absent from here. One is the Mayan from China, Soronet, and then James Spenceley, the executive director of the Vocus Group, and he's a treasurer, and Maya is a secretary. And it is very unfortunate to have the problem with Mayan to get a visa in time. Then he actually, and James as well, participated in Executive Council meeting on Monday remotely, but it is pity to not to see their faces here. Then out of the 7 elected Executive Council member right now, myself, Akinori, Mayan, and Chifu, these three are up for the renewal, up for the re-election. Then Mayan is, as you saw in the candidacy report, he is now up to the election, but Chief Chen and myself are now outgoing from the Executive Council. So this is the last day for us too. Then I'm now enjoying the last AGM right now. So this Executive Council member are, for you to take care of the Secretariat job. Then we are so keen to hear your voices, input, to have APNIC better served to you. So please, never hesitate to come up to us and have us hear your voice. Function of the APNIC Executive Council, it's by definition represent the interests of the members in the governance of APNIC, oversight of APNIC's activities, consider broad internet policy issues for APNIC's strategic direction, set membership fees, endorse the policy consensus towards implementation. We are doing the quarterly meetings a year, 4 times a year we meet, and then 2 times, of course, in occasion of the APNIC conferences. We had 2 conferences in 2015 in Fukuoka and then Jakarta, and now we are in Auckland. And then in the middle of the conferences, we have the other 2 Executive Council meeting. And then for the year 2015, we try to reach out to the community within our region. Then in June, we went to Manila, where the APNIC regional meeting in conjunction with the PHNOG meeting held. then had a PH log activity observed by ourselves. Then in December, we went to the Guam for, again, another APNIC regional meeting in conjunction with PACNOG. And these two opportunities are really fantastic to understand how the local community doing their activity to run the internet. Then NOG are basically really technical community, and APNIC, we think it is still the technical, but have some extension to the policy side. But we believe that the APNIC activity, including the further internet governance and the global engagement, will be as well indispensable to the NOG activity. Then that was maybe we will keep on this kind of approach to reach out to our local communities. And all meeting minutes and attendance record are on the APNIC website. It's very simple and short, www.apnic.net/ec. Then what's kind of the attendance is observed is like this. Unfortunately, James Spencer takes a really busy year for the 2015, and he tried his best to attend the APNIC EC meeting remotely, but unfortunately he made two absent meeting for the 2015. Generally, the attendance for the APNIC EC meeting is really good, as you see. Financials, that's already well covered in the Treasury report, which delivered to you by Kenny Huang for James Spenceley, Treasurer. We are really good in the financials, and then as Paul said in the activity report, we count up the more than 5,000 members directly, and additionally we have the almost 5,000 members under NIRs, which counts up the APNIC LIRs under APNIC, direct or indirect, counts up the 10,000, which is actually the really comparable number to the RIPE NCC. Then that shows the APNIC region is huge, and then actually it is diverse. So it is really important for the APNIC to cover such kind of diversity and huge size of our region. And another, a little bit related to the financial is the APNIC's mutuality status. The mutuality meaning it's a concept in Australian regulation to recognize one company is the not for profit, and then the company is doing the business for the mutual benefit of the membership. Then there is no APNIC is not a company to earn the profit and then divide it to the for example the stockholders, but we are doing our business by the membership fee collected, and then that membership fee will be used to the membership's mutual benefits. That's if such kind of status is recognized by the tax office, then the company in Australia enjoy the tax exemption status. So this mutuality successfully confirmed, and then we can take advantage of the mutuality status until the June 2017. Strategic planning. We, in Guam in December, we had an EC retreat, and then this is a very good chance to have the the meeting in length. By the way, in the opportunity of the APNIC and the APNIC conference in summer, we are very difficult to find our hours in that length. So it is really busy week we have right now or in summer. But December APNIC meeting is often held with the retreat. And the December retreat, we had a full day strategic planning session, and we set the 5 strategic goals there. And then it is just to see in the slides. Deliver advanced number registry and the member information services, strengthen core technical focus, such as IPv6, RPKI, and DNSSEC, and engage a committee to advance adoption and the deployment. Sustainably support AP internet infrastructure and human capacity development. Engage our community to strengthen open, multi-stakeholder, bottom-up, and transparent policy development processes and internet governance model. The last item is maintain a strong organization to carry out APNIC's mission. These 5 are set, and then it is largely stay unchanged with the previous strategic plan. And then actually that was really well facilitated by our General Counsel, Craig Ng. And then, we had quite, intensive discussion for us to set the strategic plan. But that strategic planning had been actually conducted in the Secretariat with the ELT executive leadership team. And then we are so surprised to see that our conclusion and the ELT's conclusions are really, really similar. That shows that APNIC Secretariat's view and APNIC Executive Council's view is similar, and looking toward a good shared direction. And on the top of such a strategic goal, we focused really big focus and emphasis on the core technical focus. IPv6, RPKI, DNSSEC, it is a new technology, and we often mention these technologies, but the deployment of them are very, very difficult, and it is, I'm afraid that, deployment and the penetration ratio of this technology is not high. So the Executive Council expect APNIC in its activity to more strengthening these new technologies. It's made the future internet really stable and reliable. That's again, this is emphasized for APNIC to advance this. That's one of the key points of this time strategic planning. And the survey is now being held, and this time we had the survey is 2 years. Every 2 years we have the survey, and now we are planning to the survey. And this time we have some reinforcement of the survey conduct to employ the consultancy for such survey activity. And it's very good for us to have the consultant to figure out and well-structured survey planning, and then I'm sure that the survey this time is much better than we did, which is still good thing. IANA Review Committee, that's actually mentioned in the polls activity report. We decided to have the review committee this time established. Then review committees for the INA transition, and then in the INA transition, numbers committees proposal includes the setting SLA and enter into the SLA between RIRs and INA function operators. And then SLA should be reviewed by our community. The review committee is for that review, and then it requires in written SLA to have the 2 community elected members with 1 RIR staff. So maybe next slide, yes. Then we made a decision to have our NRO number councils member who are elected by the committee, who are Dr. Ajay Kumar and Tomohiro Fujisaki, as review committee as well, and with the term until the December 31st of the 2016, and the appointment from the APNIC staff is left to the Director General, and the Director General decided to appoint George Kuo for this position. Policy endorsement, that's another job of APNIC. We endorsed 2 policy proposals, 113 and 114. RPKI for historical resource maintenance account holders, it's some other issue which APNIC has held, because APNIC doesn't charge the fee for the historical resources basically. But we have the increased needs to deploy the RPKI thing. So that means, we need to, the resources which is not charged should be employed the costly security means. So that's one of the problem with us. But we decided, we resolved to provide RPK services to historical resource maintenance account holders for no additional fee if they have a standard membership account with APNIC. That's a bit tricky. It's actually, the fact that one single entity has the multiple account in some reason. Then with this resolution, we encourage the historical resource account holder to gain the standard APNIC account, which can be affiliate. Then the fee set for the affiliate level of member justifies our expense to the delivering the service of RPKI to the historical resource maintenance account holders. That's why we decided in this manner. And we are now in the discussion for the NIL membership, which is actually in a moratorium. The Executive Council decided in 2012 to set the moratorium for the new application of the NIL recognition. Then after that, we are in the discussion to how to have the NIL scheme more powerful to help the community. So now we are in the discussion with the consultant from the KPMG employed to facilitate this discussion. So a lot of elements are now on the table, and it is being organized to analyze, to set the much better way to make full use of the NIL scheme for the better internet coordination. Pretty much said. The second slide, I'm a bit quicker than slides goes. All right. Then once maybe we can get back to you with some progress report for this NIL membership options analysis, and then we will be very happy to have your opinion at the time. But if you have any question or comment, I'm really happy to answer in this time as well, of course. APNIC Foundation is another big movement from the APNIC. APNIC in this week resolved to incorporate APNIC Foundation, and then we chosen the jurisdiction in Hong Kong. APNIC Foundation is for us to furthering our activity of the development. And right now, the development activity is done by our own staff and the resources. But the APNIC Foundation envisions to accept the fund and resource from outside to have our development activity much greater scale. Then you see the logo of the APNIC Foundation, which is well designed. You know, the logo part is actually the reconfiguration of the logo of APNIC itself, and it's like a flower or something, as you see. And then we decided the incorporation of the APNIC Foundation this time, and then now we are getting into the more in detail discussion how APNIC Foundation should do the activities or something like that. So incorporation is decided. We are now entered to the process of the incorporation and then the design of the foundation and its activity. So pretty much it. Then we, as I said, we are very happy to have your input to us. There is several means. It's a submission feature on the APNIC, my APNIC, and the email address for the executive secretary, exec-sec@apnic.net, and face-to-face during the APNIC conferences, which are this kind of occasion. And then we had a Meet the EC event. That was a really good opportunity for us to see the community's face and have our own, and have the input for ours. So I take my liberty, as I said to all speakers, to take a time for the more good explanation. So it went a bit long, but I'm really happy to have your question and the comment for what delivered to you this time as the APNIC EC report. Any questions?
Sir, Rajesh Sharia, President ISP Association of India. First of all, a lot of thanks to Mr. Mayamura Akinori and Mr. Chihu for serving APNIC for such a long time and taking APNIC to the height. The activity regarding this APNIC Foundation is a very good step in the present time, and we have to compete with the other RIRs and have to show that the next 2 billions are going to come from our region. And we have to prepare our skill, technology according to that. And here, the APNIC can play a very good role through the APNIC Foundation by at least taking those countries who are not coming up into the IT sector or into the internet sector, so that they should not feel that we are getting isolated from the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, you are right. Why the APNIC is having much more activity than in the development area is just as you said, to, for example, to get unconnected connected, or extend the infrastructure to the more and more people. Then thank you very much. I appreciate your comment. Any questions or comments? Okay. Thank you very much. What's the next? And what time is it? Maybe it's taking. All right, let's move on to the next agenda, which is the APNIC survey. to be explained by Paul Wilson in the detail. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Akinori. So my intention here is just to briefly go through the details of the survey that's coming up, to encourage you all to be aware of how it's going to work and when it's going to happen. And please to take what will be a little bit of time to respond, to participate, to encourage others to do so, because this really is the most important mechanism that we have on a regular basis every 2 years to really receive a sort of systematic and potentially very big, wide coverage of information that will guide APNIC into the future. It's commissioned by the APNIC EC, which is why the EC decided on this during this week and why Akinori reported. But I just want to take us through some details about how it's going to work this time around, because it's a little different, or it's at least, let's say it's evolving as time goes on. So it's a little different from last time and I guess the time before and the time before that, etc. What I want to present is a bit of background, how the survey is evolving, some details in particular about the focus groups, which is an important part of the whole survey structure, to introduce our new survey consultants and the timeline, as I say, so everyone knows what to expect. Now, these surveys have been going on really for quite some time now. We've got a fantastic record. If anyone's interested in going back to 1999, where the first of what have been 7 surveys so far was conducted. Back then it was led by John Earls, who was with KPMG, and KPMG provided their expertise and also their independence to shepherd the survey, to produce a report, to ensure anonymity of response and so forth. And they were involved with the first 5 surveys. We then moved to the Singapore Internet Research Centre at the NTU, the Nanyang Technical University, and they conducted the next couple, and this survey is being transferred to another professional survey organisation who I'll be naming shortly. So just in the last few years, there have been a few steps in the evolution. Of course, we had SIRC for the survey and reporting. For the 2012 survey, we had focus groups for the first time, and the focus groups, as I've said, I will explain. The last survey, 2014, we extended the focus groups to include one-on-one interviews through, basically for the same purpose, allowing us to reach a wider group of people. We also introduced at an operational level the tracking of responses of our Secretariat response to the survey. So as you may recall, every survey in the past has been followed by a formal EC response and commitment to action, but from the last survey and going forward, we're going to, at the Secretariat level, also make sure that we're informing of exactly what actions are being taken, mostly as endorsed by the EC in their response, but then in most cases to be implemented by the Secretariat. So tracking that activity is pretty important. Now, the focus groups are a part of the survey process, and they serve to inform the development of the questionnaire. So the focus groups allow us to find out what are really the pressing issues that we can really explore in more detail in the survey questionnaire process. It really allows the questionnaire to be updated in response to the community's interests, and not just to be sort of invented based on what the EC or the Secretariat might think are the most important issues. So the focus groups are small groups of 6 to 10 attendees. We're planning this time. You may have participated in them in the past, because we have had quite a wide range of focus groups in previous surveys. I think last time there were something like 18 separate focus group meetings in cities around the region. This time it's likely to be fewer, but still with the aim to get a significant sample of inputs from members and other members of the community, so that the survey questionnaire can be developed to be relevant and most useful. The locations and the locations and the initial set of issues for presentation and discussion at focus groups is going to be developed by the EC in the near future. Now, the focus groups are facilitated not by APNIC staff, in fact, but by two people who you probably know well. One is Anne Lord, who was an early APNIC staff member and was involved with focus groups last time. John Earls, who's been involved since the beginning and is still available available to us as a consultant and advisor. Definitely helps with continuity. And also someone who you may have met this week, Brenda Mainland from Survey Matters. And Brenda, raise your hand. And so this is introducing Brenda and also Survey Matters, who are the professional survey organisation who will be helping us, as we say here, to support the focus group meetings, to develop the survey as a result, then to conduct the survey anonymously on their own platform and to produce the final report. So Survey Matters, just very briefly, have got a lot of experience with surveying in the non-profit and services sector. They're very well matched to what APNIC needs in this kind of survey activity. As I say, they have their own platform for conducting and carrying out the survey online and a lot of experience. So I really think you'll notice a change in the way the survey is being presented this time, and I really hope, as Akinori said, it'll be part of the ongoing improvement and evolution of the survey process. The timeline is that the EC has made its decision to proceed. Next month we'll be finalising the focus group locations and an initial set of issues which are really just discussion points. As I say, not an exclusive list of discussion points, because there may be others, but at least something to sort of prime the discussions. Now, those focus groups will be happening in April and May. That result will be used to design the survey in May, June. We expect in the month of July to open the survey online for responses. Then I think that's open for 4 weeks or so. Then the survey analysis in August and the survey report presented at APNIC 42 in Dhaka. So that's how the survey is going to work this time around. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's really important that as many folks in the community as we can possibly find will contribute to this and really make it something that continues to meaningfully guide the EC and the APNIC Secretariat in our services in future. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Comments? Thoughts?
Okay, so please watch this space and you'll certainly be hearing more in the near future.
Yep. How posted there to deliver the APNIC Foundation report?
Certainly. So you may have heard a little about the foundation over the past year or so. It's something that the APNIC EC has been considering. Under a description, I think, in the earlier plans of investigating ways to broaden the base of APNIC financial support to allow certain activities of APNIC to be better resourced. So that's become known now as the APNIC Foundation. The objective of the foundation, as it says here, is to support internet development in the Asia-Pacific region through training, education, human capacity building and related projects and activities by fundraising in support of the activities delivered by APNIC and partners. So those activities should sound pretty familiar to you because they actually are the sorts of things that APNIC has been doing for many years. In fact, since the very beginning of APNIC's operation, when the original APNIC founding documents say that one of APNIC's objectives is to contribute to internet development, in particular through educational and development opportunities for members of the community in our region. So that should appear coherent, I hope, with what you've known and heard about APNIC over a long time. But the key points in putting the foundation forward are that we have traditionally supported these training and education activities, and those activities have been subsidised by membership fees. Of course, we haven't, in general, received a lot of external funding. We may have charged fees. In fact, we regularly do charge attendance fees, but a sustainable fee level for many countries is certainly not enough to support the activity itself. And this is where there's at least a cross-subsidy from the general APNIC fee income towards these activities. Now, demand is only increasing. I suppose everyone would be well aware of the pace and the future of internet development in this region, and that is only increasing. And yet, at the same time, APNIC is a non-profit organisation. The commitment that we can make is really quite limited, and when you think about the commitment that we can make against, in comparison with the need that's out there throughout the region, it's really obviously not possible to make a really significant impact consistently and sustainably. So the foundation is designed to attract support for increasing the scale and impact of these existing APNIC activities. The idea, at least initially, and I'll talk about the timeline, is that activities funded by the foundation would generally be managed by APNIC. They'd be carried out by APNIC and or by partner organisations. So the idea is not necessarily to bring a lot of funds into APNIC's budget and to increase APNIC in terms of the size of the organisation, but really to make sure that we're working with partner organisations around the region in actually implementing and delivering projects. So the structure proposed is a non-profit charity. It's a public company limited by guarantee, which will be established in Hong Kong, which is a particularly suitable location for this type of organisation. A charitable registration for that non-profit company is something that can be done through clear processes in Hong Kong. There would be one founding member of that organisation, that would be APNIC itself. A board of directors, 5 at least, would be selected by the APNIC EC. At least it would be selected by the EC while APNIC itself remains as a single member. It would be possible to add more members to the foundation structure, in which case the board appointment would be a more democratic process, but at least while APNIC is the sole member, the APNIC EC will select the board. And the primary role of the board, as is common in these types of organisations, is to bring funds. So board members are really fundraisers, people with influence who can simply make sure that the foundation is sustained. And it would also have an advisory council to bring in much broader expertise and experience in the sorts of activities that would be supported and pursued and so forth. So there's an implementation timeline here, fairly rough, but the stage we're in at the moment is establishment, where APNIC has agreed now to fund the establishment of the company and the registration as a charity. That's not a costly process. Meanwhile, our normal training and development activities continue as usual within the current budget which you've seen. Now, something else we've budgeted for this year is for the incubation period to start, and that is where APNIC will fund the core activity of the foundation, which is really fundraising and administration. So we've allocated one full-time staff equivalent, which is actually a couple of half-times within APNIC staff. They would primarily be Sylvia Cadena, who you may know, and Duncan McIntosh, the development director, who has led this initiative. So APNIC will fund the incubation to the extent of 1 FTE. We would raise funds through the foundation, and I think we've got a track record that's evolving now to show that this is quite possible and sustainable. So the foundation would start to provide contributions to direct costs, including the cost of partner activities, hiring experts and so on. APNIC continues to undertake its normal development activities under the existing budget. And as is normal in this kind of fundraising activity, there's an overhead that is applied to all of the funds that are received. And so we would want to keep the overhead low because that encourages people to see the foundation as an efficient organisation and one that doesn't have too much money going into overheads. But we'd be setting overheads at 10 to 15%. We'd be retaining those overheads for all funds received, and they would go into the operating cost of the foundation. So that's incubation for the first year or two, starting pretty much any day now, actually. As we move into operation, the foundation itself, using those overhead fees, would be employing fundraising and administration sort of resources, covering its own costs. APNIC would manage projects, as I mentioned, and I hope that we would receive funding from the foundation to do that. Although at the same time, I think APNIC's ongoing contribution into these activities may balance that on the books. The idea, as I said, is that APNIC and our partners would be implementing projects. Now that may actually result in the APNIC training team growing, for instance, or the APNIC technical assistance team growing. But as I said, it's also really important that the proceeds, the resources that are generated are actually distributed, and what we're engaged in is actually building capacity of organisations around the region and not of APNIC HQ. In the future, the foundation could employ its own project management and even implementation resources. It may be that down the track APNIC financial support is no longer required at all, and what we have is something that's actually become, in its own right, a significant and independent contributor to internet development in the region. So the next steps are incorporation of the company itself, appointing the board, establishing the basic facilities. We do not need any staff to be stationed in Hong Kong. We merely need a registered office. The application for charitable status would take 8 to 10 months approximately to achieve, but in the meantime we can continue the planning and implementation, the training and other activities just in the normal way. And what we'd like to do, of course, and I'd ask for your help too, is to spread the word. Part of that is a new document which describes what's called the APNIC Development Program. Again, this is a document which shows what APNIC has been doing anyway, but the idea is to describe it in terms of impact on development of the internet, which is something that many people really are interested in these days. So Duncan has a few copies of that document if anyone would like it. It's online, of course, and we've done a bit of design work, as you see there, on what the foundation would look like, a kind of a variation on APNIC's current graphic and design, and that's what that will look like. So that's all I've got on the foundation. But again, very happy to answer any questions, and just as happy to have any conversations with anyone. And I would also suggest to speak with Duncan about, for instance, the CSR, the corporate social responsibility funds that some larger internet organisations may be interested in. Sometimes governmental agencies also will have an interest in this, and development agencies and others. So I really do hope that I've sort of filled you in and motivated you on what this is all about, and that you would be eager to support. Thanks. Colonel.
I am Aris Parhar from Net Plus Broadband Services and ISPI Association from India. I'm quite, I would just leave a few thoughts which have just come to my mind regarding the APNIC Foundation that we are about to take off. See, what we have to remember is, if you look at the map of the Asia-Pac region, we find that there are countries which have very robust internet networks, who have been able to reach the populations, and the consequent benefits have also reached those populations. However, in our region also there are countries where the network, the infrastructure is yet not robust. And in such a scenario, expecting the governments to do everything would not be possible. We have to encourage the private sector, the private people, to come up with innovative models of providing internet to the people. After all, that's our aim, that we must spread internet. When I was just reading the mission statement of APNIC Foundation, it was very heartening to see that we have started moving beyond technology. Technology on which APNIC has already been working, and we have got a very strong technical team who is taking care of the technical issues that are coming up, and they are being widely discussed. Side by side, alongside, we also come out with, through the APNIC Foundation, operational processes, operational requirements, so that a kind of a model is made on which, in countries where the infrastructure yet is less, where payment capacity of people is low, where still we will make internet reach. So what are the technologies we should be able to suggest to people? What are the methods? What are the processes? How we should be able to do it? If that kind of information, along with our trainings, is also provided, whenever APNIC is taking up the cases, I'm sure this thing is not going to cost too much of money. Well, yes, certainly you will need some people who are into operations, who have been implementing projects, to understand what are the operational problems. And also people, some bit of inputs will have to be taken from the financial side, maybe region specific. What are the financial issues in those areas? Maybe in some country, the payment capacities of a person to pay for an internet connection is less than $5 a month. In some places, even $20 a month doesn't make any difference. So some kind of a thing, some kind of a model can be developed for different regions. And I'm sure that would be doing human service to the cause of internet across Asia-Pacific region. So I think it's an excellent idea of starting off APNIC Foundation, and we wish all the success, and certainly we will try and pull in resources towards the APNIC Foundation for such a role. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'd like to make one final point, which you've reminded me of there, Colonel, which is that this is also not just about APNIC's mission, but about an appropriate structural approach to APNIC's mission, because the foundation could have many activities, and you've spoken about the breadth of them, but the important thing is that APNIC itself is not a development organisation. It's not an organisation that should be distracted from its core mission by all of the possibilities that exist out there. APNIC can do certain things, and we can't and shouldn't do other things. And whatever happens, we've got our core technical focus, which was emphasised in the latest strategic plan, that we've got to have defined and evolve and stick to that. So the foundation is actually a way for APNIC to see something happen without being responsible or distracted by it. And I hope those who are maybe less interested in the foundation, because after all, the internet is a highly competitive, cutthroat kind of business these days, and it's not for everyone to be involved with all aspects. But I hope that those who are dedicated to and see APNIC as a focused core technical organisation can see that this is actually a means to achieve and ensure that, and not to actually be distracted as APNIC by a much broader, much bigger challenge. So that's part of the message that I wanted to really emphasise here. And I hope that no matter which side you might sit on, or somewhere in the middle, you can see that the structural approach is going to be very effective in making sure that we're all clearer and clear in future about our collective direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. Any other question? Okay, I think it's clear enough. And then, this concludes the reports from the Secretariat and the Executive Council side, and then we will have the reports from the community side. I'd like to bring Masato Yamanisi to the stage, and then to have him deliver you the policy SIG report. Thank you.
Thank you, Akinori. This is Masato. I'm a policy SIG chair. And firstly, let me invite Sumon, who is elected as co-chair in last meeting, because he will report later half of this. He will present later half of this report. Okay. So in this meeting, actually, we don't have any official proposals. So we made 4 informational presentations, and also we had community consultation about who is data accuracy. And in first session, we have 4 informational presentations. First one is our implementation update, as usual. So in this presentation, we just reported that 2 proposals, which was reached consensus in last meeting, are actually implemented to our policy. And in second presentation, Adam presented 3 ideas about facilitating more participation to policy SIG. And I will explain a little bit more details in next slide. And in third presentation, actually it comes from Prop 115, which could not be reached consensus in last 2 or 3 meetings. And authors decided to withdraw this proposal, Prop 115, as official proposal and ask informal discussion about problem statement itself. But after the discussion, there are still several opposition for this problem statement itself. So currently, authors thinking about next step of this topic. And in last presentation, Jeff presented IP number resources statistics. And regarding the ideas about facilitating more participation, as I said, we have 3 ideas. First one is travel support for chairs, and actually this idea is already approved by EC chairs, and APNIC will provide for 2 persons per meeting for economy class flight, and also accommodation for conference duration, and also some daily allowance and travel insurance. I forget to mention one thing. Current support for chairs are only registration fee. So these 4 items will be supported from next meeting. Then this support will be provided also for NIL and corporation SIG. So that's not only for policy SIG chairs. Okay. And second idea is a policy champions. So it means we will select liaison person between APNIC policy SIG and other network operators group and NIL. But still, we are discussing more details about this idea. And third idea is we may use APNIC conference fellowship to policy SIG participants, but since number of fellowship is very limited, so we are still discussing more details about that. Also, schedule is very important because in many cases, a fellow needs to apply visa and it takes more than 2 months, but proposal deadline is currently 8 weeks before the meeting. So it means we need to select fellow before the deadline of proposal. So we need to consider about the schedule a little bit more. Then second session is dedicated for who is data accuracy, and Sumon will explain what presented and also what we discussed.
Thanks, Masato. In the second session, actually, we discussed some of the issues regarding APNIC WHOIS database. First, Adli actually presented on how importance of the WHOIS data accuracy, and we have come up with how they're handling and reporting procedure of invalid contact update. And George Koo talked about APNIC WHOIS data quality improvement. And then Ellie presented that the new WHOIS version is coming up within this year. So regarding verified contact report procedure, that it has been reported that it's really difficult in case of non-responsive contacts, and as long as there is no policy to enforce that, sometimes it becomes quite challenged to rectify the invalid contacts. And recently a trend is being seen that the increasing report of network abuse against the new members, and at one case, actually, the member termination became the last result. Regarding data quality improvement, that Secretariat have a number of activities and tools they're trying, but the point came that Secretary is only responsible for the members' delegation, not the other part of the WHOIS database. And there's also a proposal came up that whether we can separate the WHOIS database members' information and the other routing information in other databases. But there's opposite views also came up that, and finally the community actually support the problem statement, and they considered all different solutions. And it has been came up that WHOIS DB, we need to, it is also not the APNIC issue, other RIR, NIR, and AIRs, or other that has to be considered. And we have identified the need for a coordinated discussion, including at NRO-NC. That is the discussion in this regard.
Then lastly, I'd like to announce that I don't wish to serve Policy SIG chair after my term will end at first meeting of next year, because this year is 5th year. So I'm sorry. I was elected co-chair at second meeting of 2011. So it means this year is 5th year, and also this meeting is 10th meeting for me as co-chair and chair. So I think it is good time to have new person as chair or co-chair, even though the continuity is very important for policy discussion. And also another reason is now I'm working for different industry, so it's not so easy to catch up latest status in this industry for me. Anyway, so I'm thinking about my stepping down timing. So as I said, my term will end at second next meeting, I mean Hodgman one. But I'm also thinking about stepping down at the end of next meeting. Anyway, as I said, the continuity is very important in policy discussion, I think. So we need to find good candidate as chair or co-chair. So if you are interested in, please tell me or Simon or Adam or Josh, then we are very happy to explain chairs and co-chairs' roles and responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you,
Any
Mr.
questions?
Simon. Any question or comments? A bit of the clarification, but for the terrible support for the SIG chairs are were not approved by itself as an agenda, but approved in the part of the budget allocation. That's under discussion with the Director General and the Secretariat to have it implemented, but we just approved as the budget. Clarification.
Got it. Let me clarify
Yep.
also. So does it mean it will be implemented from next meeting, or still needs some step? From next meeting. Okay.
Thank you. And as Masato said, that as well as my side, I'd like to really encourage you to be involved in the chairing of the SIG, never be reserved, never be humbled. Then please just raise your hand for the chairmanship, and then it's a really great experience. I'm sure. Masato, what do you think?
Yeah, I know it's a little bit odd way that announcing stepping down 1 year prior. I know it, but reason is I also want to encourage more participation, not only for policy discussion, but also chairing. Chairing is so different from the discussion. But I think we need to have new person as chair and co-chair. Sumon is also pretty new person, but I think we need to have more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Masato. I did have one observation about the new travel support for the chairs, which is that one of the intentions of providing that support in our budget is to assist and encourage people who may not have the resources for a regular commitment to be able to volunteer as chair. So hopefully, in one sense, it'll create some more competition for these chair positions, because there'll be more people who are actually now encouraged and interested. I hope our chair elections will remain friendly and uncontentious, but I would suggest that we have a look at the election process, perhaps on the SIG policy mailing list in advance of the next election, just to make sure that the election process is well defined and well understood. So that would be my suggestion for the SIG, because, as I say, hopefully we'll have some more contention and competition for the chair positions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, move on to the next SIG report from Toshio Tachibana for the NR SIG report. Toshio is coming to the stage. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Toshio Tachibana from Green Inc. as the NIL SIG chair. Also, we have two co-chairs, Tuen Yu from the CNIC, also the Ajay Kumar from the NICSI. However, the Ajay is not be here this conference. Also, the Tuen Yu already back to his office. Also, I report about the NIL SIG on this Tuesday. And around the 90-minute session in Tuesday, so about the participants is about 30 people come to the session. So it seems a very good phenomenon. It's a very good have a good session. So this is the agenda. So we have an update from each NIRs. Also the community discussion and also the community consultation about training and technical assistance needs from the APNIC Secretariat. So presentation, there is a presentator as a name for you. So we missed the VNIC people at this time, but almost NIRs coming here. I hope all NIRs are coming together then the next APNIC meeting in Dhaka. So also the already transcript and the slide are uploaded to the iProgot website. Please check it out. Also, if you have any question or comment, please feedback to chair or co-chairs. So some kind of the question so in the discussion. So that's only the example. So and there is our speakers. So I'm very happy to serve to chairing on this session. I want to do the best for the contribute to the community continuously. That's all. That's from me. Thank you very much.
Comments? Question and comments? Then thank you. Okay, and our SIG report is over. It's 11:17, and then 11:17 means 12:17. Sorry, 12:17. My bad. All right, then we will have the we will come to the we have come to the time slot for the open microphone. So regardless any presentation or comment, please feel free to come up to the microphone. Sato is coming.
This is Masato. This is related with what we talked in policy SIG report. So I also now aware that it is very good timing to consider and improve our SIG chair election process, because I will not run to next election. So I don't have any conflict of interest. But my question is, it's not only things within policy SIG, because we have same election process for among all SIG. So what is the approval process for to change SIG chair election?
Thank you. Anyone can make a response? Adam is coming. Okay.
Adam Gosling from the APNIC Secretariat. The election process is outlined in the SIG guidelines, and as some of you will remember, there's no real procedure for changing the SIG guidelines. It's a community document, it's managed by the Secretariat, but it's owned, it's not a numbered document. So there's, in the past when we've looked at changing it, we've had a fairly informal process of taking suggestions and discussing it in each SIG in existence at the time and reaching a consensus amongst each of those SIGs, and then the Secretariat will update the document. Perhaps if we are looking at the document again, we could include a discussion about how to update the document in future.
Thanks, Adam. Clarified, Masato?
Yeah.
Thank you. Toshio.
I'm Toshio Tachibana. May I comment for some kind of the session for the APNIC tracks? So regarding the IP transfer, IPv4 address transfer session is a very, very important for us at this time. However, that session's speakers is also the native English speakers. So the two first and not prior to the speaking about that. This is an APNIC conference. Please consider about the speaking in English clearly and very slowly. So they be careful to our participants. Thank you very much.
Anyone? Any response? I will. Thank you very much, Toshio. And then I totally agree with your say. APNIC using the English as the common language, as official language, I'd say, where the lot of country within 56 countries within our service region, the very few countries have the English as a common and official language. So I'd like to encourage you to, when you speak, please articulate, please have it not very quick, please. And then this is my belief that some incapability in the English conversation and communication should not be the reason to be discriminated. Anyway, I have the really, not really bad, good sense of the English language though. But I'm really happy to doing this chairmanship for a long time with my sometimes crappy English. Then I do encourage you to speak up with your own, but common language, which is English here. Thank you. Aftab?
Aftab Siddiqui. Thank you, Toshio, for pointing out a very good point. I'll try my best to speak as clear as possible. And the thing regarding the SIG chair and co-chair elections, the problem is if we trying to change, if we are trying to change the process, so should we take it to all SIGs? Because we are talking about NIR SIG, policy SIG, and cooperation SIG, or we just do one policy and make it happen. I'm not clear with that one because NIRs are working independently in that manner. So if anyone can clarify on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Aftab. Anyone for response? Adam.
Adam from the APNIC Secretariat. Generally, that document does apply to all SIGs. There is one paragraph that applies only to policy SIG chairs and their tenure after, to ensure continuity if they're overseeing a particular proposal. I hope that made sense. When we talked about that document last time, there was some resistance to forking it into different SIGs. So there was a discussion about the NIR SIG possibly being mothballed, and at that time we talked about maybe having different documents for different SIGs, and there was some resistance to that. But we could discuss it again.
Sanjaya.
My understanding is the travel support's available to all SIG, so I would imagine if you want to strengthen the SIG chair election process, it would be across all 3 SIGs.
Okay.
Aftab Siddiqui. If you are planning for strengthening the election for that, again, my question stands. It's going to be one policy for all 6 as we have today, or we'll be having in the future, or should we do it independently as part of changes in the charter or something like that, or it's going to be one policy applied to all 6?
Thank you. Paul?
I think there are obviously there are policy questions here which really depend on the community to determine how much formality, what style of election, how is the election going to be sort of formed or evolve in future. But there are probably some, what I'd say are sort of administrative matters of just putting forward a kind of a sensible nominational election process that could apply to all of the SIGs. And if it's of interest, then I think the Secretariat could come up with a set of administrative procedures that is just simply a more robust, common election process, and we could put that out onto the mailing list in advance of the Dhaka meeting as a contribution to the discussion, and then it's up to the community, I think, to accept that and to follow it and to evolve it from there. But I'd offer to do that, to ask the APNIC staff to put some work into that if it seems like a good idea, again as a sort of administrative assistance to this process.
Just to extend the comment, probably an informal session in Dhaka would be a great idea to discuss among the community what they are planning and what they are thinking about this idea, because the chair support has not been endorsed by the EC yet. So I believe we still have time to discuss it, and I don't think so any of the chair or co-chair are leaving at the moment by next meeting, so we still have time to come up with a solution. Thank you.
The chair support actually is budgeted, and the plan is to make it available for the next meeting. But as you say, if there are no elections that are happening in the next meeting, then we could. You're quite right. We could have a BOF session at the next meeting, which covers all of the SIGs. It's not specific to any one, and then we could develop the processes as you. If you want the Secretariat assistance, we can certainly do that afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rajesh?
Rajesh Charya, ISPI. One thing I will appreciate about this particular Auckland meeting, about the agenda. The agenda, what we have discussed into last meeting at Jakarta, and now what we are discussing in the Auckland is entirely changed. And what I'm finding personally is that we are now coming back to the technical side, wherein we are discussing the journal, not a journal issue, but a very technical specific issue, the WUEs and other issues. I will suggest to EC that in future, whenever we are planning for the meeting, at least we should not go out of the track and be specific on some time on the major time on the technical thing, and some time on the general cause can be discussed.
Thank you very much. I make a comment. Yes, consistency should be respected, as you point out. But at the same time, I'm really happy to have the really variety of the discussion. And one of that is the FOIs in the policy SIG. It is critically important to have the really appropriate policy for the FOIs. Then that quite relevant to the IP address management. Then geolocation, that's another session which is really, maybe what I say the quite new topic which may be involved, maybe important, much more important than before in the future. Then such dynamic set of the agenda is really good to have to share entire community. So I don't point out as the process of the IP address policy development, but this is an apricot to share a lot of concerns, issues, and technologies at the same time to share throughout the community. So in that way, I love that. So, but consistency is important through the process. I agree with that. Thank you. Masato.
My comment is related about SIG chair election. Even though Paul and maybe Akinori said that we will not have any election in next meeting, as I mentioned at the podium, I have not yet decided whether I will serve until my term or step down at next meeting. So if I will step down at next meeting, policy SIG will have chair election. So I just want to point that out at this point.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm really sad to hear you're stepping down now. Not now, in near future. Okay, any other comments? All right, it concludes the morning sessions. Then we will have the lunch, but before that, I'd like to invite Sunny for some notices.
Thank you, Akinori. Sunny Chandy from APNIC. Just a reminder, the voting desk is still open. If you haven't collected your ballot papers and would like to take part in the EC elections, please collect your voting papers from the voting desk. And the lunch is served today next room, so it's not behind the wall, but it's next door. But of course, if you would like to collect your ballot papers, yes, you can go that way to collect your ballot papers. And the ballot box will be closing sharp at 2 p.m. So just a reminder again to collect your ballot papers. I do have some closing dinner details as well, but I'll share that later in the session today. Thank you.